Hello everyone, my name is Teresita Gravina and I am one of the Scientist Ambassador for Italy. Actually, I teach mathematics, science and special need in Junior Reg School in Italy. In this video, I will share with you some of my idea in how to engage students in STEM topics. I think that this is one of the big mission of a science teacher at school. Because science and technology will be one of the most important things of our students in their future life, and for this reason they have to learn something about this, and if they love this topic it could be more easy and funny to learn some about STEM. In order to engage my students, I try to use in each lesson something practical, because students love hands-on activity, and this type of activity it's very useful to engage the students on the topic you are talking about. For example, you will find a lot of useful resources on GoLab website. Here there are lots of laboratory but also inquiry learning spaces. You will decide to use all the inquiry learning spaces or just copy the original one and prepare your own lesson. One of the topics most useful to engage students in STEM topics is space, because everyone is dreaming about space when I was a child. In addition, in particular with younger students, they love to make lessons in something related to death, destruction and dinosaurs. For these reasons, one of my favorite resources on GoLab portal is this one, Craters on Earth and Other Planets. When you decide to use one of these resources, you have to be sure that in your school there is computer availability. Or, in other way, you can ask to your students to bring their own device. But another important requirement is, of course, the Wi-Fi connection. Use this type of activity. It's very nice because you can use it for a lot of reasons. For example, I use it in my experience to talk about the history of Earth, but could be used also for a physics lesson or to make a link with geography and how to prepare maps or how to orientate on maps. Another point I think it's very important is always underline to your students which kind of STEM professional are involved in the argument you are talking about. Because if you help your students introducing the type of professional who work in this field, they could be interested in follow this type of career. And another thing could be useful is to introduce to your students the skill needed to work in this field. For this reason, when you design your lesson, it could be a nice idea to make some research and write down some notes about the professional involved in this kind of job, and introduce this to your students. This is important also in order to prepare your students to university, because if they are interested in STEM career, they will have some knowledge about which kind of career let them a lot of possibility at the end of the university to get a job. This is not only important for students interested in STEM career, but for all students, because in next year technology will increase their relevance in our lives. And even if I am not a STEM professional, I have to know to which kind of professional I have to go in order to resolve my problem. Another way to engage your students is design a citizen science experiment. This kind of experiment requires the involvement of volunteers and science. This is very useful in formal and informal education because the students participate in an big experiment. They could carry out the experiment or just measure the data, but this works very well with students because they feel responsible of something, and in general they are very happy in participate in this kind of experience because they feel responsible. When you design this type of experience, it's important to choose the right experience for the type of school in which you are working. Another thing to taking into account is to choose the right citizen science experiment, which is useful for the community in which your school is involved. For example, I realize with my students a simple citizen science experiment in which they have to measure the carbon dioxide emission they made each morning to arrive at school and calculate this along all the year. This is a good science lesson, but also could be useful for mathematics because they have to use a table to make a calculation. But in addition, let your students to improve their awareness in how to reduce emission. And also in this case, during the lesson, you could underline which kind of job will be available in next year in this field. Another experiment I realized with my students could be used as a citizen size example. We use a social media in order to improve the digital citizenship of our students because they have to manage this account and be responsible of the news they are sharing with this social media. And this is implicate they have to make research about the source of the information they are sharing with the other students of the school. Also in this case they feel very responsible, so they are very happy to participate in this experiment. And to realize something like this, it's very important to be sure that they can use internet at school during the experiment. It doesn't care they need the computer, but they can also use their or bring device, but the very important thing is the internet connection. I hope you find my idea interesting, and if you have some question, just ask me.